Carl Jung discovered something at age 83 that most people taking vitamins in their golden years are getting completely wrong. It wasn't that they were choosing the wrong brands or the wrong doses. The problem was far deeper than that. Jung realized that most older adults treat their bodies like broken machines that need individual parts replaced, when they should be treating them like wise, integrated systems that need harmony, not warfare. How old are you right now? And for how many years have you been taking vitamins? Leave that in the comments because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you're over 60 and you've been taking vitamin C by itself, calcium on its own, or iron without its supporting nutrients, Jung would have told you that you're approaching your health like a mechanic, not like the wise individual you've become. And here's what's fascinating about Jung's approach to aging. Well, most people see getting older as a series of things breaking down. Jung saw it as the most important phase of life, where everything you've learned finally comes together into something beautiful and powerful. You know that feeling when you wake up in the morning and your energy feels scattered? When you look in the mirror and wonder where that vibrant person you used to be has gone? When you take handful after handful of supplements but still feel like you're running on empty? Jung understood this feeling intimately. He called it the crisis of the second half of life. But he didn't see it as a crisis to be feared. He saw it as an invitation to become who you were always meant to be. The problem isn't your age. The problem isn't even your health. The problem is that somewhere along the way, you started treating your body like it was working against you instead of with you. You started taking vitamins like you were fixing a car, adding this nutrient here, that mineral there, hoping something would stick. But you knew better at 70. When most people were slowing down, Jung was writing some of his most profound work at 80. When others were resigned to decline, Jung was still taking long walks, still discovering new depths in his own psychology, still living with a vitality that amazed everyone round him. What was his secret? It wasn't just the vitamins he took, though those were important. It was how he took them. It was the mindset behind every choice he made about his health. Jung understood that after 60, your body isn't just a collection of organs and systems. It's become a temple for everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, everything you've grown into. And temples don't get fixed with random repairs. They get restored with wisdom, intention, and respect. Think about this for a moment. When you were 30, you could eat anything, stay up late, skip meals, and your body would bounce back. That wasn't because you were stronger. It was because you were simpler. Your 30-year-old body was like a new car, everything running on factory settings. But your body at 60, 70, 80. That's a classic. It's got character. It's got history. It's got complexity that requires a completely different kind of care. This is where most people get it wrong with vitamins. They think getting older means everything is breaking down, so they start adding supplements like they're patching holes in a sinking ship. One vitamin for energy, another for joints, a third for memory, a fourth for sleep. Before you know it, you're taking 15 different pills that don't talk to each other, don't work together, and often cancel each other out. Jung would have called this approach unconscious. He would have said you're treating the symptoms while ignoring the system, right? This in the comments right now. What vitamin have you been taking the longest? And what result were you hoping for that never quite materialized? Because I guarantee you're not alone in this frustration. The vitamin industry has convinced millions of older adults that more is better, that isolated nutrients are the answer, that if one vitamin is good, 10 must be better. But Jung's approach was completely different. Jung understood something that modern medicine is just beginning to rediscover. Your body at 60 and beyond isn't just older. It's wiser. It's more selective about what it needs and how it processes nutrients. It's more sensitive to the relationships between different vitamins and minerals. It's more responsive to the intention and awareness you bring to your health choices. This isn't a weakness. This is sophistication. When Jung talks about individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, he wasn't just talking about psychology. He was talking about every aspect of your life, including how you nourish your body. The vitamins that worked for you at 40 might not be what your individuated, mature body needs at 65. The approach that worked when you were focused on building a career and raising children might not of you now that you're in the season of wisdom and reflection. Here's what Jung discovered about vitamins after 60. And this is going to change everything about how you think about supplementation. He realized that isolated nutrients are like trying to play a symphony with just one instrument. Sure, a violin can make beautiful music on its own, but it can't create the full, rich, complex harmony that comes when all the instruments play together. Your mature body doesn't need more nutrients. It needs the right nutrients working in harmony. This brings us to Jung's first major discovery about vitamins after 60. He realized that individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, doesn't stop when you reach retirement age. In fact, it accelerates. But here's the thing most people miss. Your mind can't individuate properly if your brain doesn't have the fuel it needs to think clearly, to process emotions, and to integrate all the wisdom you've accumulated over the decades. Jung discovered this firsthand when he was in his early 70s and noticed his mental energy starting to fluctuate. Some days he felt sharp and creative, other days foggy and scattered. Instead of accepting this as normal aging, he did what any good psychologist would do. He investigated. What he found changed his entire approach to nutrition, and it can change yours too. The problem wasn't that he needed more vitamins. The problem was that he was thinking about B vitamins the way most people do, as separate entities, B1 for energy, B12 for nerves, folate for mood. But Jung realized that B vitamins are like a family. They work together. They support each other. And when you separate them, they lose their power. This is why he started taking what he called his daily foundation, a complete B complex every single morning. And the results were remarkable. Within 3 weeks of switching from isolated B vitamins to a complete complex, Jung noticed his mental clarity was more consistent. His energy didn't crash in the afternoon. His mood felt more stable, less reactive to the daily stresses that used to throw him off balance. Most importantly, he felt like his mind was keeping pace with his spirit, which was still hungry for growth and discovery. Here's something fascinating about Jung's approach. He didn't just take his B complex and move on with his day. He made it a ritual. Every morning, as he prepared his tea, he would take his B vitamins and spend a moment acknowledging what he was doing. He was feeding his nervous system. He was supporting his brain's ability to process the complex emotions and insights that came with being a mature, individuated human being. He was honoring the fact that his 70-year-old mind deserved the same attention and care that he gave to his psychological work. Try this approach for the next 2 weeks and tell me in the comments if your mental energy feels different. Don't just pop a B complex pill and forget about it. Make it conscious. As you take it, remind yourself that you're supporting the most sophisticated computer that's ever existed, your mature brain, which has been collecting wisdom for decades and deserves premium fuel. But Jung's discoveries didn't stop with B vitamins. The second breakthrough came when he was 75 and dealing with what his doctor called normal bone density loss. Jung refused to accept normal as inevitable. He started researching the relationship between sunlight, bone health, and what he called the inner light that every person carries. What he discovered was revolutionary for its time and is now backed by decades of research. Jung realized that vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It's a hormone that affects every system in your body. But here's where most people get it wrong. Even today, they take vitamin D by itself, like it's working in isolation. Jung discovered that vitamin D needs partners to do its job properly. It needs vitamin K2 to direct calcium into your bones instead of your arteries. It needs magnesium to activate and use the vitamin D effectively. Take any one of these without the others, and you're only getting a fraction of the benefit. This is what Jung called the trinity of vitality. Vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium, taken together, every single day. But again, it wasn't just about taking the supplements. Jung made this part of his morning routine. His connection to what he called the solar principle within himself. He would take his trinity of vitality and then spend at least 20 minutes outside, even on cloudy days, acknowledging the relationship between the sun's energy and his own inner vitality. The results were dramatic. Not only did Jung's bone density improve, but his mood became more stable, his sleep deeper, his immune system stronger. His doctor was amazed that a 75-year-old man could reverse bone loss and actually improve his overall health markers. But Jung wasn't surprised. He understood that when you work with your body's natural systems instead of against them, remarkable things become possible. Here's what I want you to do right now. Stop taking vitamin D by itself. Stop taking calcium by itself. If you're going to invest in your bone health, your mood, your immune system, do it the way Jung did. Get a high-quality vitamin D3, at least 2000 U. Pair it with vitamin K2, around 100 micrograms, and add magnesium glycinate, about 300 milligrams. Take them together every morning. And make it a moment of intention. You're not just preventing osteoporosis. You're honoring the temple that your body has become. Write in the comments if you've been taking vitamin D alone and how long you've been doing it, because chances are you're not getting the full benefit, and it's not your fault. It's just that nobody taught you Jung's approach to supplementation as a conscious practice rather than a desperate attempt to fix what's broken. Jung's third major insight came from observing his own inflammation levels as he aged. He noticed that on days when his joints ached, when his thinking felt cloudy, when his energy was low, these weren't separate problems. They were all connected to one underlying issue that he called the fire within, not the good fire of passion and creativity, but the destructive fire of chronic inflammation that slowly burns away vitality and clarity. Most people accept aches and pains as normal aging. Joint stiffness when you wake up, that foggy feeling that takes longer to clear each year, the sense that your body is slowly turning against you. Jung refused to accept this as inevitable. He started investigating the connection between inflammation and consciousness, between physical comfort and psychological insight. What he discovered was that when your body is constantly fighting inflammation, it doesn't have the energy left over for growth, creativity, and the deep psychological work that makes the second half of life so potentially rich and meaningful. This led Jung to his most powerful discovery about aging and nutrition. He found that high-quality omega-3 fatty acids weren't just good for heart health or brain function. They were essential for what he called the flowing life. The ability to move through your later years with grace, flexibility, and mental clarity, instead of rigidity, pain, and confusion. But Jung didn't just start taking fish oil capsules from the pharmacy. He approached omega-3 supplementation the same way he approached everything else in his later years, with intention, research, and respect for the complexity of the human system. He discovered that most omega-3 supplements are rancid by the time you buy them, oxidized and actually harmful rather than helpful. He learned that the ratio of EPA to DHA matters, that the purity matters, that the freshness matters. Jung established a routine that he followed religiously until his death at 85, every morning. Along with his B-complex and his trinity of vitality, he would take a high-quality omega-3 supplement, at least 2,000 milligrams, with a ratio of roughly 3 to 2 EPA to DHA. But he didn't stop there. He paired this with a small amount of turmeric and black pepper, creating what he called his daily anti-inflammatory protocol. The transformation was remarkable. Jung's joint pain, which had been gradually increasing through his 70s, began to subside. His sleep became deeper and more restorative. His memory, instead of declining, seemed to become even sharper. His emotional stability improved dramatically. He found that he could handle stress, conflict, and change with a calmness and wisdom that surprised even him. But here's the part that most people miss when they hear about Jung's supplement routine. It wasn't just about the physical benefits. Jung realized that chronic inflammation doesn't just affect your joints and your heart. It affects your consciousness. When your body is constantly fighting inflammation, your mind becomes inflamed. 2. You become more reactive, more irritable, less able to access the deep wisdom and patience that should be the gifts of your accumulated years. Jung wrote in his journal at age 78 that taking omega-3 with turmeric wasn't just about preventing heart disease or maintaining brain function. It was about creating the physical foundation for psychological growth. He said that wisdom requires a calm body, and a calm body requires proper nutrition. This is why he was so meticulous about the quality of his supplements and so intentional about how he took them. Tell me in the comments, how many nights per week do you sleep deeply without waking up? How often do you wake up feeling refreshed instead of stiff and achy? Because if those numbers aren't where you want them to be, Jung's anti-inflammatory protocol might be exactly what you need. But remember, it's not just about taking the supplements. It's about approaching your health with the same consciousness and intention that Jung brought to everything else in his life. This brings us to Jung's fourth and perhaps most important insight about nutrition after 60. He realized that how you take your supplements is just as important as what you take. Jung observed that most people approach their health routines unconsciously, popping pills while rushing through their morning, barely aware of what they're putting into their bodies or why. Jung developed what he called the ritual of conscious nourishment. Every morning, he would set aside 15 minutes, not just to take his supplements, but to connect with the intention behind each one. As he took his B-complex, he would acknowledge that he was feeding his nervous system, supporting his brain's ability to process the complex insights and emotions of mature life. As he took his vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium, he would spend a moment in gratitude for the sun, for the earth, for the minerals that support his bones and his inner strength. As he took his omega-3 with turmeric, he would set an intention for the day to move through whatever challenges rose with grace and flexibility. This wasn't just spiritual practice, though Jung certainly saw it that way. This was practical psychology applied to health. Jung understood that the placebo effect isn't just about believing a treatment will work. It's about bringing consciousness and intention to your healing process. When you take your supplements with awareness and gratitude, when you understand what each nutrient is doing for your body and why you need it, you create a partnership between your conscious mind and your unconscious healing processes. Jung kept detailed journals of how he felt, not just physically but emotionally and mentally, as he refined his supplement routine. He noticed that on days when he rushed through his morning ritual, when he took his vitamins absent-mindedly while thinking about other things, he didn't feel as clear or as energetic. But on days when he was fully present with his conscious nourishment ritual, when he took a moment to acknowledge what he was doing and why, he felt more integrated, more whole, more like the individuated person he had spent his life becoming. This is what Jung meant when he said that the second half of life is about meaning, not just achievement. Your supplement routine isn't just about preventing disease or maintaining function. It's about honoring the wisdom your body has accumulated, supporting the continued growth and development that should characterize your later years, and creating the physical foundation for the psychological and spiritual work that becomes possible when you're no longer focused on building a career or raising children. Jung lived this philosophy until his final days. At 85, just months before his death, he was still taking his morning supplements with the same consciousness and intention he had brought to the practice for over a decade. He was still writing, still seeing patients, still growing and learning. His mind remained sharp, his body remained relatively healthy, and his spirit remained curious and engaged with life. The people around Jung were amazed by his vitality in his final years. They wanted to know his secret. Was it his psychological work, his spiritual practices, his intellectual pursuits? Jung would smile and say that it was all of these things, but it was also something much simpler and more practical. He had learned to treat his body not as an enemy to be defeated or a machine to be maintained, but as a wise partner in the ongoing project of becoming who he was meant to be. This is the revolutionary approach that Jung pioneered and that modern research is finally catching up to. Your body after 60 isn't broken and in need of repair. It's sophisticated and in need of wisdom. It's not a collection of failing systems that need to be propped up with random supplements. It's an integrated whole that responds to conscious care, intentional nutrition, and the kind of respectful attention that you would give to any other masterpiece that has been decades in the making. Think about this for a moment. You wouldn't try to restore a priceless painting by randomly adding colors wherever it looked faded. You would study the original, understand the artist's intention, and carefully choose interventions that honor the integrity of the whole work. Your body deserves the same approach. Jung's method of conscious supplementation is like being a master restorer of your own health, working with precision, intention, and deep respect for the complexity of what you're caring for. This is why Jung's approach to vitamins after 60 was so different from the typical medical model. He wasn't trying to turn back the clock or pretend that his 80-year-old body was the same as his 30-year-old body. He was trying to optimize the body he had, to support it in doing what it was designed to do at this stage of life, which is to be a stable, comfortable foundation for the psychological and spiritual growth that should characterize your later years. Jung understood that after 60, your body's needs become more specific, more individual, more conscious. You can't just follow the same supplement routine that worked for you in your 40s. You can't just take whatever your doctor recommends without understanding why. You can't approach your health unconsciously and expect conscious results. This is why Jung developed his 4-part approach to supplementation that we've been discussing. First, the B complex for mental clarity and emotional stability, taken with the conscious intention of supporting your nervous system's ability to process the complex insights and emotions of mature life. Second, the trinity of vitality, vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium, taken with gratitude for the sun's energy and the earth's minerals that support your bones and your inner strength. Third, the anti-inflammatory protocol, high-quality omega-3 with turmeric, taken with the intention of maintaining flexibility and grace in both body and mind. And fourth, the ritual of conscious nourishment. The practice of taking your supplements with awareness, intention, and respect for what you're doing. But Jung's approach goes beyond just these for supplements. It's about developing a new relationship with your body, a new understanding of what it means to age consciously, and a new appreciation for the fact that your later years can be the most fulfilling, most meaningful, most vital period of your entire life. Jung proved this with his own life. He didn't just survive to 85. He thrived until 85. He was writing, teaching, seeing patients, and growing psychologically and spiritually right up until his final months. His body supported his continued growth and development instead of limiting it. His health served his purpose instead of derailing it. His physical vitality matched his mental and spiritual vitality because he understood that they're not separate systems but parts of one integrated whole. This is what Jung meant when he said that life really begins at 40. He wasn't just talking about psychological development. He was talking about the possibility of living consciously in every aspect of your life, including your health. He was talking about the opportunity to become not just older, but wiser, not just more experienced, but more integrated, not just more mature, but more authentic. Your body at 60, 70, 80 is not a younger body that's breaking down. It's a different body with different needs, different capabilities, and different potential. It's a body that has been refined by decades of experience, that has learned to be more selective about what it needs and more responsive to conscious care. It's a body that can serve as the foundation for the most meaningful and fulfilling years of your life, if you approach it with the wisdom and respect it deserves. This is why Jung's approach to vitamins after 60 is so revolutionary. It's not about fighting aging or pretending that you're younger than you are. It's about optimizing the aging process, supporting your body's natural wisdom, and creating the physical foundation for the psychological and spiritual growth that should characterize your later years. Jung taught us that the second half of life is not about decline. It's about refinement. It's not about loss. It's about integration. It's not about giving up. It's about becoming more fully yourself than you've ever been before. But this process requires a body that's healthy, comfortable, and energetic enough to support your continued growth and development. This is the gift that Jung's approach to nutrition can give you. Not just better health, though that's certainly part of it. Not just more energy, though you likely experience that too. Not just less pain and more flexibility, though those benefits usually follow. The real gift is the opportunity to approach your later years with confidence, with vitality, with the sense that your best days are not behind you but ahead of you. Jung discovered that when you treat your body as a wise partner rather than a failing machine, when you approach your health with consciousness rather than desperation, when you choose supplements based on understanding rather than hope, remarkable things become possible. Your body becomes an ally in your continued growth rather than an obstacle to it. Your health becomes a source of strength rather than a source of worry. Your aging becomes a process of refinement rather than a process of decline. So here's what I want you to do. Start today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, begin to approach your health with the same consciousness and intention that Jung brought to his psychological work. Choose your supplements not based on what you're afraid of losing, but based on what you want to support and develop. Take them not as a desperate attempt to turn back the clock, but as a conscious choice to optimize the incredible body you have right now. If this video has given you a new perspective on aging and health, if it's helped you see your later years as a time of potential rather than decline, if it's inspired you to approach your well-being with more consciousness and intention, then please subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept that their best days are behind them, who understand that wisdom and vitality can increase with age, who are committed to making their later years the most fulfilling and meaningful of their entire lives. And in the comments below, I want you to share this. What's one change you're going to make today based on what you've learned about Jung's approach to conscious aging? Are you going to switch to a B complex instead of isolated B vitamins? Are you going to add K2 and magnesium to your vitamin D? Are you going to start taking your supplements with more intention and awareness? Whatever it is, share it in the comments. Your commitment might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own journey toward conscious, vital aging. Remember, Jung taught us that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, your body. At whatever age you are right now, is the vehicle for that becoming. Treat it with the respect, the consciousness, and the wisdom it deserves. Your future self will thank you for it.